1. When the law punishes the law-abiding. If you don't pay your electricity bill, the power company can cut the service and stop the loss. If you take goods from supermarket without paying, it is theft. It is crime. But when tenant does not pay rent for 3 months, refuses to answer calls, ignores messages, and avoids responsibility, why is that only civil matter? This is not just landlord's complaint. This is question about law, fairness, and social order. 2. 3 months. No rent. No answer. 3 months. No rent. No calls. No texts. No communication. When someone lives inside your property but disappears from responsibility, the landlord's loss is not theoretical. The mortgage is real. The taxes are real. The insurance is real. The repairs are real. The tenant stays silent, but the loss continues every single day. 3. All forms of communication were ignored. I did not refuse the legal process. I sent messages, no answer. I called, no answer. I sent registered mail, no response. Even the bailiff's notice was left on floor. If someone can delay the entire system simply by refusing to respond, that's still legal process. Or has it become a means of evading responsibility? 4. Hydro-Québec can stop the loss. This was the question. I asked police, why can Hydro-Québec cut power when bills unpaid? Because the company has the right to stop the loss. But when landlord faces 3 months of unpaid rent, why can't the landlord stop the loss immediately? Why can some institutions protect themselves quickly, while landlords are told to wait, suffer, and keep paying? 5. Then the tenant called the police. The moment she called the police, the system moved fast. The police arrived, but they did not first ask why rent had not been paid for 3 months. They did not ask why calls, messages were ignored. They did not ask why the bailiff's notice was left on floor. The system immediately protected the person who had already broken contract. So I have to ask, when system moves this fast, who is it really protecting? 6. Unpaid goods equals crime. Unpaid rent equals civil matter. If someone takes goods from supermarket without paying, it is theft. It is crime. But if someone lives another person's property for 3 months without paying rent, becomes civil matter. Goods have value. Housing has value. A supermarket suffers loss. A landlord also suffers loss. So why does the law treat the same basic act, taking value without paying, so differently? 7. This is law. I asked the officer, why can supermarket call it theft? Why can the power company cut service? Why can't landlord stop the loss? He could not answer the question. In the end, he only said this is law. But that is exactly the problem. Is law always the same as justice? 8. Self-protection or crime. I changed the lock not for revenge. Not to humiliate anyone. Not because wanted to break the law. I did it to protect property. I did it to stop the loss. I did it because every normal path had been blocked. But this system, the person who breaks the lease can immediately receive protection. And the person trying to protect his own property can be treated like criminal. 9. We only enforce the law. The next day, I went to the police station to try and get my phone back. However, my phone had been found by someone on the street not far from the police station. I asked the same question again. The officer at front desk said, "We only enforce the law. Politicians make the law. And you elected them." That answer was brutal. Because this system, everyone has sentence that pushes responsibility away. The police say they only enforce the law. Politicians say the law comes from democracy. The system says it only follows procedure. But who pays the price? 10. Should lease still have dignity? People always say lease is contract and landlords must respect it. I agree, a contract should be respected. But should the dignity of lease depend on only one side? When one party does not pay rent, refuses to answer, ignores registered mail, treats bailiff's notice like garbage. Does that lease still mean anything to that person? Should the government not give the lease some dignity? If a contract binds only the landlord but not the tenant, then it is no longer contract. It is one-sided chain. When society keeps rewarding irresponsibility and punishing the law-abiding does not only lose fairness, it loses people's willingness to keep following the rules. No snowflake is innocent in an avalanche. Thank you for watching.